welcome to Riding Through the Unknown. I'm your host, Michael, and I am joining you all tonight from Tallahassee, Florida, where I am right now. And my guest that's joining us tonight is an amazing guest who I had the pleasure to meet in person in Utah, in Kanab. And she has been on Paranormal Versus and the energy that surrounds us. So please join me in welcoming to Riding Through the Unknown, the one, the only, amazing Madel Niff.
Hey, what's up again? How are
So
you doing today?
I'm doing
Good,
well. How are you doing?
good, good. It's getting warmer here, so it's always nice.
Yeah, you guys got hit by a snowstorm recently, didn't you?
Yeah, and it's now on and off warm and not so warm. But I hope that stabilizes some time soon.
So
And and you're in Florida, right?
I
Right now.
am in Florida.
Okay, cool.
It's warm here.
I've heard that right now it's hitting warmer.
Yeah, so why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to the audience here?
Well, my most recent project right now is being with the social media platform that will gather all these awesome people that we talk to, which is called Aten Wonder. You guys can just um, go www.atenwonder.com. You can sign up for updates on the launching. We hope before summer we have that up. I'm also on and off I also like to write every once in a while. Right now I had published only a children's book, Whispers of the Starry Night, and because of the craziness that is my head sometimes, I'm very curious, so I'm on and off writing. I don't know if it's going to be a paper or a book, but with this there's also some experiences and some tools that I've been creating. So I don't know, I'm all over, but like very interested. I'd say. I don't know.
No, it's very cool. And so, what brought you to writing the children's book, and what do you kind of cover in the book?
I'm a mother. I have two daughters, and for me, it was always a big one to know how to introduce the idea that there is more than what we can perceive right now, as far as scientifically and consciously understanding, as far as collective. So I wrote this book that talks about a mother on bedtime, during bedtime story talk with her daughter, and talking about the amazing things that she could learn with the stars and observing the patterns of things around her and how she deals with it, with life, I guess. It's very nice. It's very neat. I like it, but yeah, I guess.
No, that's very cool, and I think that's something that's really needed right now in the world we're living in. And so, thank you for doing that. And I kind of want to shift gears a little bit, and you brought my awareness to something in Kanab that I had never thought about or experienced, and that is taking a picture of your right eye and what it reveals in the camera. So, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Um, yeah. So, like I've been previously stating, it's been like a few years I've been doing this kind of research into paranormal. Before I didn't have much dimension how interdimensional things would be, but they kind of like intercalate with each other. And a long story short, I came to the awareness of using physics pretty much, the aspect of playing with your biocoherence on as far as your own electromagnetic field and how you can shift gears, and not only because the thing is, we have two centers that you can play with your electric magnetic field, which would be the one about the chest, would be the heart chakra, that and there is the one that I work, that is when you play a little bit with your brain synchronicity. So those are responsible pretty much to you can, like, if you play enough with them, with the aspect of navigating your own energy, you can play with the chemical process that reveals itself and other things. And because of personal protocols I came to experience throughout my life, I came to acknowledge that a certain I, using the aspects of frequency manipulation, light, and some other cool things that I'm researching about, you can actually review aspects of the interdimensional reality that we live. For example, invisible things to the normal eye vision spectrum, you can get them revealed when you apply frequency, manipulated frequency, in mirrors, which is the reflection, and usually accompanied by light. You have to have some sort of light, and because of how lenses they work differently, they are able to pick up things that we are not able naturally because of our threshold of perceivable light spectrum, if that makes sense.
It does, and so that's really cool. And so, in your time frame of looking at this, what are some of the things that you've seen in the eye that's not visible to the naked eye?
Oh, uh, many things. So, big spoiler alert: we're not alone. We perceive sometimes we are alone, but it's because we don't have the augmented or the variety of the, like, the threshold of the light spectrum we are able to perceive. So long story short, I'm able to perceive things that are not there. I came to, for example, like other. I will put NHI, like not human intelligence, because at this point I'm very careful to say, oh, they are out of planet or not of planet, because this concept of of being in a planet can be very subjective to um, what you're able to perceive as the place you live as in a system or not, if that makes sense. So I've been able to interact and perceive those beings that are usually undetected by normal means, and that's pretty much big basis for what I'm actively researching right now, if that makes sense.
It does, and one question I have for you that I'm curious about is people who are, hearing the term like hybrids now. Do you feel like if you get a hybrid and they take a picture of their eye, it'll reveal their hybrid? So, that they are in fact a hybrid by this photo, or
if I understood the question, you're trying to understand if by this analysis of the picture of the on the within of the eye, you can classify one to be a hybrid or not. Is that what you're saying?
I'm in a way, yes, and I'm just curious if being the hybrid affects what's visible, what comes through. If you think there is a connection, or it's just
Yes, I do feel, because I'm a firm believer that you gotta have the hardware to be able to run the software. Does that make sense? So like you gotta have the pieces to run the what is the word I want to use? You have to have the right pieces in the machine to make it to work, right? So, for
right.
example, if to perceive interdimensional matters, you would have to be very attuned with uh, your quantic field, which would be you being very attuned with your electric magnetic field and things that we cannot see, which, you know. So is it like, and then the big question I'd say is like, is it a something that humans are inherently, like it's a birthright, or is something that through other methods is added to, or honest to you, I'm not sure to say this and that, but I do believe that you gotta have a little bit more of juice to be able to make the machine work, therefore, because it's not unconscious, it's not something that you just, because the experience I have is that you gotta attune to at least like a certain level, a little bit over than ordinary frequency, to use this kind of method. So like I don't know if it's something that somebody that is not a hybrid but is very attuned with meditation under the practice, that they are able to manipulate their own frequency, then therefore they can do it, or it's something that is not, at this point I wouldn't be so bold to say, but
No, so right, so you just had so in essence you had to one have your frequency in alignment, but it seems like two is a belief or understanding that it's out there. So
yeah,
if you sit there and you're like, no, we're alone in the universe, they're probably not going to reveal themselves, or if they do, your mind will make it something else, so you won't understand really what you're seeing. Is that
yeah,
kind of, yeah.
yeah, as well you have to have, because the thing is everything, even dreams, they project in a way that you're already familiar, if that makes sense.
It does, because they say dreams are the window to your subconscious that's trying to tell you stuff. And if you're experiencing something and your physical mind or conscious mind can't understand it, it'll wait until you go to sleep and then you process it.
Mm, interesting.
That's at least my understanding of how it works.
I don't know, I haven't given much thought, being honest, but I do believe that things are relative to your threshold, if that makes sense. It's like you're saying, things are relative to your threshold, because you can't invent things that you haven't seen.
Right. And if your mind has no frame of reference for something,
Yeah,
you'll just see it as a blurry image or not even really see it. Like an example is,
yeah,
being in tune with nature, the other day, yesterday, when we were driving through a forest, I saw an owl in a tree. And it took a while for everybody else to see the owl, but everybody eventually did. And I felt like they were like, "Wow, how did you see that?" And the first thing in my mind was, because I'm in tune with the nature, I sensed it, knew where to look, and found it, and it
Yeah,
wanted me to find it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Like you said, it's because you're attuned to it, so you're in awareness of its patterns. Therefore, that's why you noticed there was an owl. In contrast with the natural pattern of the woods forest that you, yeah, that's amazing.
And another thing that I kind of am curious about around the photography and everything is, you're being, you have interdimensional contact with interdimensional beings. Did they, do you feel like they came to you and in a way and said, "Hey, here's another way where you can see us and we can interact," and pointed you in the direction of doing the photography and seeing what's in there?
um I guess that was both ways. In this during inside of this craziness, it's very interesting. um First, I noticed that I was able to develop a direct connection through, and there's the codifications with numbers and time, and it's very like that. But like once you get the north, is very easy. So I was to the point, not was because I came from that point, but I got to a point that I would be talking, communicating things that, like, like we just know, like in conversation, but wasn't nobody speaking. Sounds very bad, but I'm very experimental, so I would have to have, I always have to have a physical north, a physical something that I can guide myself towards a validation. For example, when I got to the understanding that I could achieve this kind of technique, I was in one of those conversations where I was asking even them to show up or do what, if that makes sense, as
It does.
confirmation. So I was in active contact with craft and having this conversation. And funny thing is that, hmm, I don't know if I can say, but funny thing is that once you get to believe that and see that what you're doing is what you're doing, I don't know how to explain. I don't know if it's an isolated case, but with me, we developed sort of protocols, and I learned that within those protocols, there are protocols.
Oh,
And there are certain things that you can ask. And when you can, and when you have, but the thing is, you have to know what you're asking in order to ask, right? Um, I don't know how to explain, but it's like very. Anyways, you have to know what you ask in order to ask, and through where and what. That's all I can say. It's very confusing, but because when you get to a point of, because I like to learn a lot from them, and I'm grateful I'm able to. And between this learning, we learn many things, and we learn how to unlock our the potentials we want to explore. And that's pretty much how I got to this conclusion, if that makes sense.
It does, and I like asking because it seems like such an idea that's seems like obvious to do because eyes are windows into different our soul and different things, but yet I don't know many people who actually go and do like what you're doing. And so I always like to hear, where the idea came from and how it came about, because there might be people out there that are feeling or thinking the same thing and are like you're saying, no, this seems too crazy. No, I'm not going to put myself out there like that, and I'm not going to try it, where you're actually doing the trying and experimenting. So I feel like by sharing that, other people who are thinking along the same lines are going to go, oh, she's doing the experiment. Look at what she's getting. Let me see what I get, and, work and develop it from there.
Yeah, and that's what I'm writing about. I'm not sure. That's what I say. I'm not sure if I'm gonna make into a scientific paper because I'm indeed gathering data as far as, for example, basic vital like heartbeat, blood pressure, things like that. As far as what brain frequency is sustained during certain types of what happened in connection and contact. So I'm documenting all of that, and yeah, and it's been now 2 years, 2 years, because things are very cyclical. Like we tend to believe that we are linear, but we are not. But the only thing that actually turns is just the cycle, and every cycle holds an energy and a reason and a gate, let's say that way. So it takes time to replicate on the same moon, on the same time, and on the same day. And I'm making sure that what I'm learning, I can have other people replicating as well, as far as for the sakes of self discovery, because the experiences I'm having and the clarity that I'm having as far as understanding where I am is unmatched. So I feel that it's just something, like you said, that we should be able to share to other people so they can experiment from themselves and see what's up.
Right. And one thing that I'm curious about as well about the photographing is I remember when you were showing me and I was doing the pictures, and we were like, it looked like what in the paranormal field we would call like a shadow being in the eye. And the thing about it though is you put the camera like right here, the lens, so it's like there's nothing reflecting except your own eye. So to see that, I was like, blew my mind, because I was like, wait, where is this coming from? It has to be in my eye, because that's the only thing the camera lens is seeing. And so I'm wondering, what are some of the, like, some people might say crazy things that you've seen in the eye that you're like, I can't explain this. This shouldn't be here, but here it is.
Yeah. The thing is, it's all comes to basic geometry and physics, really. How light reflects, because like we don't have dimension, how dimensions are really a thing. We don't have idea because it's not something that we usually think about because it's just real and normal. But there's not just this side, there's this side seen through this side that also that can be seen through that side. And light is a thing and carries information. So if you're in tune with that frequency, you project that out, if that makes sense.
It does, and it's like I remember when I saw that too. That your face lit up, and you were like, it almost looked like you were surprised even to see that in that photo as well.
Every time. That's why I'm taking photos. It's every time it's a surprise because, oops, again, I'm not crazy. But yeah, every time comes with a surprise. But yeah, because it's fantastic. Like you said, like you don't see many people with this awareness. But I was told to write it down, so that's what I'm doing. So guys, please be patient.
Oh no, I'm inspired by what you're doing, and in awe, and just I was like, and just to see your face and reactions and how you explain everything just was like kind of in a strange way comforting, because I'm like, this is my first time to even conceive of even attempting this, and I was like totally expecting nothing to be there, because I'm like, well, I did nothing to raise my energy or anything, or put any energy out there. I was just like, okay, let's see what's in the eye. And to see what we saw, I was like, that just blew my mind, because I was like I was saying, there's no way I could
It's
manipulate the image to make that appear. It appeared on its own. And I had to wonder, if I had taken time to like meditate, like you're saying, raise manipulate the energy and raising it up, focusing more, if more would have came through or less, or that was what was meant to be for the introduction.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy. And at the same time, we were using one of those paranormal investigator um, ghost box thing. And at the same time, we were doing that. The mind blowing through me was that was speaking and we were seeing, and it was just weird. But it's every time surprise for me. Like I'm still amazed.
Yeah.
Because it does make you feel closer. It's not like a utopia of ethereal wonder, It's something that you can actually relate. It's like, yeah, it's here. It gives you the touchability, a new word, the touchability to validate yourself on your experiences. So I feel that would be very valid for people to feel validated and learn how to interact with this other, you know?
I agree. And one of the things that I didn't share in any of the photos or stories that I told of what we were doing,
Mm-hmm.
because partly I even have a hard time explaining what we were doing. But what
Yeah.
I found interesting was the first night we went to a reservoir, and we're like, we're going to call stuff in. And all of a sudden, it's cloudy. It starts raining. I mean, it was like downpour raining. And we're like, well, let's try. So we're like, the most we were able to get is using the apps to communicate, and we're walking around and we're like, no, it's just not, you know, coming through. And it was the three of us. It was you, Captain Rob, and I. And then I was like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, it'd be really cool because 2 out of 3 of us are totally in line of what we're doing and calling in.
And nobody's
Eh,
afraid because
yeah,
the
to have it open up and like show itself. And then I was like, and we were finally like, nope, we gotta go. There was stuff starting to happen around us that we couldn't explain, and it was looking very strange. And we're like, okay. And the funny thing is for Madel and I to be saying strangeness is going on. You have a picture of what we mean by strangeness. This was like way out there, and we were talking. Finally, decided to go back to the room. Started snowing a little bit,
that
and
was
yeah, the weather just started going really weird, and so we decided to call it a night. And then you text me in the morning when we got up, and you're like, "Do you want to go now?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so you and I went, and it was totally different.
totally different. The funny thing about where we were, that is a special place too, is that after we called a night, I went back to the room and then I was calling husband, blah 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 blah. And then you talked about the TV. Oh, I was so glad that there is no mirrors on the top of the TV. It's like, TV. And then I was talking to my husband, and then because the thing is, I'm used to spookery since I'm a kid. So if you pretend it's not a biggie and you're not seeing anything, they kind of cool off after a while. So like, and I was on the phone, blah 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 blah. The book is on the table, blah blah blah, and then I started seeing things just whoo on the TV reflection, like whoo. And then I was like, I'm not even seeing this, blah, 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 blah. And then, just, and kept going. It's like, I'm not even going to acknowledge anything. And then on the next day, I tried to, say what's up, what is going on. And and somebody asked, didn't you hear people through the apps, through the Ghost Box apps? And didn't you hear me? I was like, no, I was so gone. I'm not even gonna say but yeah, it was very weird events and things going on.
And then what's funny is I text you, good morning, we're up, and you're like, "Oh, how was your night?" And I go, "Yeah, I slept good. What are you up to?" And you're like, "Oh, I had a crazy night." And then you're like, "Let's go to the reservoir." I was like,
Yeah,
"I don't know what the crazy night was, but I was like, okay."
yeah, that's something. That was something. But yeah, that was a nice random breakage of algorithm, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when we were at the reservoir in the morning, it was like cloudy and a little chilly. Well, I say a little chilly. You probably would
It was
say it
pretty
was
cold.
freezing cold.
Cold.
But we're out there, and you start walking to certain spots, and I can see you communicating, so to speak. And the next thing I know is like I'm feeling something, and so it's like I'm feeling communication as well in a way. Not that I'm used to, kind of a little telepathic and not totally used to, but all of a suddenly we were standing out there and we're looking at the water, and I'm like, wait, the water is moving differently in different areas. And I was like, this doesn't seem normal. What's going on? And I'm like, and I felt like this is the start of something. And then all of a suddenly the sun comes out, clouds start breaking and start appearing at other places, and I was like, what is
Yeah.
going on? And you're like, this is it.
Yeah, and it was right where I told you before because I have this thing now, this I don't know what it is, that I can see kind of like when something comes. And then I told you it was like something is here, and it was right when it opened up, and yeah, it's just many weird things that yeah. But it is what it is. It's always like that. But it was
Yeah,
fun.
and one of the things that kind of, I don't know if you remember, but in the water were these weird looking lines and could have been something, a critter moving around or something. But one of the things that I noticed and I pointed to you was it was either a stick or a feather.
Was a feather. There was the wasn't the tip of the thing that clicks to the skin, was the other that was like this and was
Yeah, it
with
was like resting on top of the soil under
wing.
the water, and it was at an angle. And I was like looking at it, and I kept looking at you. And when I brought you over to it, I was like, I need to show you something because I can't explain this. And you're looking at me like, what? I'm like, I couldn't describe it to you. I was like, you got to see it. And so you are like, okay. So we get over to it, and you're looking at it and going, huh, that's interesting. I was like, yeah, because it literally was underwater with water moving around it, but not in that spot. That was totally still, which was
Mm-hmm.
strange. And it's like somebody just set a feather on the ground at an angle
It's just weird.
and nothing, and it would not move.
Even with the water going around was just there.
Yeah,
Yeah. Weird stuff.
it was. And you also introduced me to a thing called quantum photography.
Yeah, with Stephen Lee. I have to, I don't know if he's watching. Yeah, Stephen Lee. He is the inventor of this imagery thing that he does magically. Props to him. I couldn't find nobody that does what he does. And he introduced me to that. And yeah, many things that are mind blowing as far as like he works a lot with people and scientists writing those UFO related papers. You guys should check him out. Um, yeah, and it's very like what he does is pretty much reveal the what we cannot see, and it's very interesting as far as how things are arranged on another spectrum. It's like things come to surface in a pattern that would make sense of that paranormal or the UFO where it wasn't. It's just yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know how to describe it, but I remember some of the photos we were looking at right after we took it, and we were like, "Ooh, look at this!" And I remember, I think it was my photo actually. This one time where I was looking at the sun, and I was like, something looked a little off about this cloud, so I took a photo of it, and when I zoomed in, it looked like there was a guy standing on the cloud next to the sun, and I showed it to you, and you're like, "See, I told you they were here."
Yeah, and the funny thing is that which fascinates me the most about this, the visibility of the spectrum of light is that, like I said, I don't know if it's something that with people that can kind of like tune in with frequency like you and I we could, but like I've observed even during some kind of connections or contacts I have, that when some things, not all things, depending on, I feel the level of the frequency, there's a deeper explanation to that I can't get to it right now. But according to the specifics, it shows a kind of like a yellow blob spectrum of energy that you could see too. I think on the pictures we took, I'm not sure that if it was visible, but was exactly on the area where we observed all of that. Crazy. So yeah, definitely another sign that like of bias and confirmation bias of what, like what we're seeing, what we're looking, and actually something was going on. It's very interesting.
It was, and I kept trying to wrap my head around. We're seeing it in the sky, but it was over the water, and so my mind kept trying to put a correlation together of the water to the sky to the sunlight to, and trying to figure out, in the paranormal field we call it like the pattern of the perfect storm, so to speak, that creates the energy for them to come forward. And so I was like going, because we're over a reservoir, so that's man made, and thinking, was man, guided to bury whatever was there under the water for a reason, and they're utilizing this, and we inadvertently gave them this gateway here.
Being totally honest with you, I observed the same pattern, and I didn't know that in paranormal, it's actually a pattern of things happening. But in some of my alchemical experiments that I do, as far as contact, there is an association with using the sunlight. It has to be the sunlight, and at this time was water mixed with another substance that I'm writing about, so I'm not gonna mention right now. And you'd use it with, yeah. And when I did that kind of experiment, I actually had a semi, I don't know how to explain, but I could see on that time through my third eye vision, if that makes sense. And it was a I can't say this word, was
Literally.
literally a almond shaped head being, and I could even see it smiling, but everything in a plasma drawing way. I don't know, things. And I was seeing, and I was so amazed, like you say, like I was seeing, like, is it you there? And it was Maya, and it was coming towards me. And then I didn't see where it was, and I just felt like it's something being thrown on my head. And when I look back, it was smiling at me. And when I got was a bee. So like, yeah, that happened to me. So it is a connection. That's funny that you brought up the water photon sun connection thing, because it's a real thing. It's a real thing, and I didn't know. I found out through like experience. And it's,
Right.
I don't know if it's anything buried there on the reservoir, because usually my experience here in Utah is that some body of water, some, they have some connection with what they would say underground places. as well as the top of the mountains. But I'm not sure about that place. But as far as the water sun connection frequency, yeah.
Yeah, in the paranormal, we view the perfect storm as there's a ley line nearby, which is the Earth's energy, a storm, because then the rain and the electricity in the air gets charged,
Mm-hmm.
and the
And you
energy of
read
the
that.
devices
We
there.
had all of that.
Yeah,
And then the things that was said through the ghost box thing too was just incredible. But yeah, was an experience.
it was, and I can't help wondering because we were originally going to St. George, and then I looked on the map and was like, "Oh, we're going further west, and we need to be going east." After
Hmm.
this, and so I was like, "Ooh, what about these two places?" And you were like, "No, this one." I think it was Big Water. You were like, "No, that's too far.
Yeah, was
Kanab is perfect. Let's do Kanab." And look at what happened. So it's like I feel like something in Kanab wanted us in Kanab for this experience.
I'm not doubting anything else in my life anymore. I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah,
And I feel that there's no such thing as coincidence. So
yeah.
I'm validating your point.
Just when you think about it, we were there. Storms came in out of nowhere. Then all of a suddenly, the next day, it's like totally calm, and you could still feel the energy of the storms in the air. So it was like, yeah, it was like the eye of what was coming, and it was like I felt like it was as you were describing, saying, let's open the clouds, let's show the sun and bring this out. And I was like, I've never tried moving clouds,
You
but
can't.
yeah, why not give it a shot? And the next thing I know, it's like clouds start breaking apart, and I'm like, what the world? Okay, this is really cool. I don't know how we're doing this, but this is cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's all about like your attitude, pretty much. It's not about I command
Yeah,
the clouds to part. No, it's just like, hey, you know? But yeah, I'm pretty much that way, like that. Doesn't change much. And things happen. Things happen. It's just having fun with it. Things happen.
yeah. We even were playing. What was it?
The immigrant song.
Yeah.
We come from the land. They like the song. That's why.
I was like, man, they got good. They got good taste in music.
Mhm. And that's what I'm saying. My experiences are around some sort of humor. So that's why I don't understand how people want to take that in a serious light. Of course, it is serious because, it's pivotal for, I feel, for our understanding about who we are as consciousness, I guess, beings. We don't even know what we are, but yeah, it's just about having fun with it, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, when you see a figure, clearly the upper torso of a person on a cloud, you can't sit there in your mind and go, yeah, this is an earthling, up there, or a human is up there. It's like, no, it's got to be, an angel, or it's got to be, an ET, alien, star being, whatever you want to call it. But then it's like you're taking it that extra step, I think, and going, if it is that, how is it here existing in that form? And the only way possible the mind could perceive it would be different dimension coming through. And so it's like interesting how it puts it in, like you're saying, we're not alone because this was in the sky, and and it's not like it was this bright light and these booming voices were coming out and saying, "Here I am." We just were guided to take a photo and looked at the photo, and there it was. I mean, there was no any reason to take a photo there other than they wanted us to take a photo there.
Yeah, and that's funny how that happens, because when whoever it is doesn't want to be perceived, they're not. But when they want to be perceived, they are. And I don't know if it's a matter of the right time, or the right place, or like I said, we had such a good attitude about everything. Wasn't about profiting, wasn't about proving anything, was about pretty much experimenting and experiencing pretty much. And I feel that especially when I'm on this discovering and not judging, like I want to see this and I'm expecting to see that. No, it's just like, and I feel that that is the respect is reciproc. Now I cannot say this word, but the respect is,
Reciprocated.
yeah, reciprocated. Yeah, just about the right attitude, I feel.
It is, and I think that's the important thing to note too is when you and I were there and we were like, yeah, we're expecting this, this, and this, and we kept looking up and going, come on, guys, separate the clouds, come on. And it's like, it almost felt like, we're sitting there going, hey, we came all this way to show me what you're talking and experiencing and what you're doing. And you're like, come on, why aren't you doing it? And I'm like, sitting there going, well, are they going to do it or not? Are they showing up or not? And when we stopped thinking about it, really, I think, and we got distracted, I think, by looking at the water where there would be a spot where it's running in a circle of motion, and then around it was running still, and then another spot where the current looks like it's going to the left. Next to it's going to the right, and there's no rhyme or reason to how all this water is moving differently. We looked up and we're like, oh my god, the clouds separated.
Yeah, it is weird. It was weird,
Yeah,
but
it's like,
nice.
yeah, it's almost like they were like going, you guys are expecting too much. Let's distract you, get your mind off it, and then boom, here we are. When we
Yeah,
were got distracted and not focusing on it.
yeah. Maybe sometimes, maybe we're just trying too hard. I don't know. But yeah, it's like the lack of expectation helps. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was nice. Yeah, that was nice. Would be better if it wasn't raining the first night, but it happened because, right?
Yeah, I think they used that to charge it up and charge up, so to speak, the battery for everything to come through.
But was kind of quick and out of, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like it literally was to keep us away from there because as we were driving over there, it would start raining more, downpouring more, and we're like, okay, this is, not really comfortable being out here in this rain. Let's go head back. And as we got back, pulled into the hotel parking lot, we're like, is it raining? No, it's light rain. Well, should we go back? And then it started
And
snowing. And
snow.
I don't think we want to be out there in the snow. And we just sat around talking, and the snow just kind of fell. And anytime we made a thought, I think of going back over there or an intention in our mind, the
That's
rain
true.
picked up,
That's
and it
true.
was like, yeah, they definitely did not. They did everything in their power to keep us away that night.
That's so true. That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
Wow. I haven't seen through that lens yet, but that is true. See, I'm kind of slow.
Oh no, it's not being fast or slow. It's I have the mind that looks at and notices little nuances and tries to go, okay, what was this nuance about? What was this nuance about? What was this about? And all of a sudden I can map out, oh, this allowed for this. Okay, so that's why this happened. And sometimes I'm on the mark, and sometimes it's like the mind was like, yeah, we just wanted you to think that so you would stop asking questions, kind of thing. And it's like, nope, that was off, but it got you to stop being in your head. So I was like, okay.
Interesting. That's so interesting. And I think that is so fantastic because, like you were saying before, you do your thing, I do my thing. Captain Robert does his thing, and that's the beautiful thing about noticing the patterns that of your thing, and I notice the patterns of my thing. And if you think about what else are we are not able to perceive because it's not just like our attention shift. You know what I mean?
Right. And I had to say it was like probably mid last year. I was talking with someone about something, and they were like, yeah, when you're seeing a ghost, what we perceive as ghost or spirit, say washing their dishes, we go, oh, this is someone just doing what they did in life, and they're just repeating the pattern. We
Wow.
just got a glimpse of it. And someone goes, how do you know that's not another dimension? And you're seeing a parallel timeline or another dimension, and this person is seeing you wondering the same thing. And I was like, I had never thought about that. And so I started going
Ghosts.
now and thinking every investigation I went on after, I was like, what am I seeing? Is it here? Is it another dimension? Is it, you know, all that? And it's like my mind started going, okay, now that I know this little nuance is out there, I start to look for it and go, is this here or is this there?
That's so interesting. After that, what you mentioned, like before, of course, after the trip, I got to be like on philosophies on the same topic. What if we're interacting with a different dimension of time, even what we
Yeah.
perceive? You know what I mean? It's just like, and we don't quite understand the division because of how we think of, like, on the linear. I don't know, because like there's the saying, everything just happens here and now and all the time. So yeah, it's interesting, like, because the aspect of, okay, you die, you pass, but you actually here, but you, like, what is, it's just
Yeah. And
everything very curious. But yeah, I got me thinking, like, that's like, what if we're just interacting too with another dimension, which is like definitely very possible.
and it was interesting because my friend in San Antonio that does paranormal investigations goes, I don't really do paranormal investigations anymore. I'm more studying this dimensional. forest, and I was like, and he calls it a haunted forest, and I was like, I want to experience this because he's like, people disappear and reappear, and I'm like, I gotta see this for myself because I'm like, I've never heard this friend use the term dimensions, and I was like, he had me on that, and I was like, I gotta go see this, and we would be walking on the path, and in the dark with the moonlight you would see like branches and everything, and then there would be like a walkway, and so he's like, go check out this walkway. So I walk through, and then I come back through, and I'm like, that's really cool. And I was like, each time you would see something different, like either the past or parallel universe, possibly
Yeah.
something going on. But the interesting thing was the entrance to the path, when we turned a flashlight on it, branches and debris was across. There was no path. And so we would walk up and you could physically touch what was there. But when you turn the light off, it disappeared. And said to him at one point, I go, I wonder if these are holographic. When you put the light on, you're activating the hologram so you don't enter where they are. And these are entrances to other dimensions and everything, protected by a holographic shield. And he was like, it
Oh,
could be.
wow. I
But
believe. I believe. Interesting. Interesting. And definitely that's so interesting in how like the material interacts with certain kind of other types of molecules, because it was just now that they released the public knowledge that they created hologram that you can touch, wasn't that?
it was.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely very possible.
And
Interesting.
the other thing that was interesting about this forest that you would probably find interesting is we went in at like 11 o'clock at night, and it felt to us like, walking a couple hours just up a path, another path, and came back. And when we got across this bridge that finally you could see the water running, when we first crossed, it was pitch black. Then
Hmm.
all of a sudden you could see the water on your way out, and we looked at our clocks, and it was like 3 a.m. And we were like, how did we go from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. in a matter of a couple hours?
Or maybe everybody saw something that they didn't have to remember and you got meeped out.
Yeah. I mean, it was like we couldn't explain the time dilation, and going,
Yeah.
definitely dimensional. And the fact that the moon never moved. But here's one thing you'll really find interesting about one area of the forest. They call it the mirror.
Uh,
And when you looked in the sky, Orion's belt is on this side. Here's the moon, and Orion's belt is on this side. It's There was two Orion belts in the sky at the same time.
you know, on something that could have happened, but it's just a speculation right now because I've also had an experience. Okay, you talked about a holographic something to protect some kind of passage, right?
Right.
So I've came to experience a knowledge that there are some things that happen, some created environments that is just out of electric magnetic fields, that they kind of pretty much isolate the area within this dome. It's a dome between this
Right.
dome, inside this dome, and there's no um, like it doesn't experience time and space the same. Therefore, the magnetic shift pole is controlled. Reason why, yeah, I don't know if you catching my drift, but
I
there
am.
is such things as like a create isolated areas that can be just like that put together, that they do not participate of the same experience of space and time because they isolate themselves in another
Yeah.
something through electric magnetic something.
Yeah, and they're saying right now that magnetic north is way further off than where it should be. It's like speeding up and it's shifting. And so there's like big questions coming up of what is that going to mean that magnetic north is no longer in the northern sky.
Because they say the whole shifts the moves, right?
Right.
And nobody it like I've heard things I hear.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to keep talking with you more about this, and we'll have to get you back on for, another episode.
Sure. Anytime.
So, yeah, so where can people find what you're up to, and do you have anything coming up that you want to publicize or you can publicize?
Um, Madel Niff, yes, Isaac. I don't know his name now disappeared, but yeah. So
It's
you
Isaac
can
9
Isaac Nine.
or
Okay,
Isaac
yeah,
9. Sure.
Isaac Nine. Hi. So you can everybody can take a pic on Instagram. I have my personal account. Not serious, but definitely posting anything exciting there. But for now, just before summer, uh, the hotspot for our type of enthusiasm, UFOs, paranormal, and so there's a space we can freely not depend on normal social media algorithms. Before summer, atandwonder.com. You guys hop on there. Right now, you can just sign up for receiving the updates and any type of contact anybody want to um, make. And as far as if you on the professional, not much social media type side, I'm on LinkedIn as well. So Madel Niff, the only, the one and only. But yeah, for now, I think that people can find me on Instagram and LinkedIn and atandwonder.com. Yeah,
Very cool. And
thank you.
thank you for coming on and, joining me on this series.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me again. And it's always nice to learn from other people and different perspectives. It's just like every time is a new experience, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful that you brought me back again and we could talk about it a little bit.
And just so you know, I'm still taking random photos of the skies because I'm like, if something looks a little off, I'm like, I better take a photo and I'm going to check it out and I'll send it to Madel if I think there's something there.
Yeah, keep doing it because sometimes we have the impression and we write, and it serves. I like to use that as personal bias for validation. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely keep doing what you're doing. I'm excited to see the launch of this platform. I pretty sure I already signed up for it, and
Yeah.
so I'm looking forward to it and seeing what collaboration we can do with it and in the future. And so thank you so much, and thank you to everyone in the chat room, and thank you to everyone watching. And Uh, wow, I just blanked for a second.
You're tired, been driving too much.
Actually, I got chauffeured around today, so it was kind of nice.
Nice.
But
Nice.
yeah, Rob and I are about to head out to see a ghost tour of Monticello, Florida.
Mm.
So we'll hopefully be okay and not, disappear.
Take pictures.
I will.
Nice, nice. I hope you guys have some fun and yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. And so thank you, everyone. And we're going to sign out. And I'd like to say get some rest, but we're going to hit the road first and walk around for an hour in a town and then head back for some rest.
But nice, but very nice, very nice. You guys in Florida, enjoy.
Yeah, well, enjoy Utah.
But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for today.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye, everyone.